You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynne Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Monday the 24th of September. Anti-white witch hunt of the FA. Woman killed by branch in Kew storms. If you're worth more than 1 million, better watch out for the taxman's about. Belarus elections apparently have no opposition voted in. TB on the rise in Romania, what is in store for us in the UK. Muslims kill yet more Christians in Nigerian suicide bomb attack. Pakistani official offers a large sum to killers of filmmakers. Thought for the day, Norfolk does it again. And finally, a truly fat cat. UK news. England captain John Terry has quit the England team the day before the FA's witch hunt began after being cleared of being racist by the courts. The fact he was found innocent of the charge of racially aggravated public order offence against Anton Ferdinand in July fired up the politically correct lovies controlling the Football League Association, who were today commencing a 4-man commission in the allegations on which he has already been legally cleared. John Terry has stated that he has already been cleared in a court of law and that the FA have made his position unattainable. In a legal turnaround, Rio Ferdinand, brother of the Anton Ferdinand, called Ashley Cole a chalk ice for helping John Terry prove his innocence, but only received a £45,000 fine, but no commission on his racist comments. The FA wanted to make an example of John Terry for one reason. He is white. The storms in London have claimed the first victim. The woman, from New Zealand and in her 30s, was killed when walking through Kew Gardens when a branch fell and hit her on the head. She could not be resuscitated by paramedics. Unbelievably, this accident might be referred to the Health and Safety Executive for investigation. However, over the next 36 hours, quite a few areas are looking at 30mm to 40mm of rain, with as much as 50 to 60mm with localised flooding. There will be gusts of wind up to 60 miles per hour in parts of Scotland, which is enough to uproot the odd small tree. A World at 8 reporter commented, "I do not believe it," as Victor Meldrew said. "This accident, although awful, is just that, an accident. Branches do fall in high winds and you need to be very careful when walking underneath trees in certain conditions. Health and safety obviously need more work to occupy themselves with." If you are worth more than £1 million and you have a home or homes abroad, you might have to pay heavier taxes. The nouveau riche are being targeted by George Osborne, who gave the announcement to the Liberal Democrats to unveil. The affluence unit at the HMRC is being given additional staff of 100 people to crack down on the financial affairs of, amongst others, footballers and other high-earning sports professionals and owners of overseas properties who have not declared their enormous profits from rents. This new unit has brought in £40 million in its first year. A World at 8 writer comments, "I think this is good. For many years these people have made millions and not paid their dues fully into the UK. Now the time has come, with this recession, that unpaid taxes must be paid. I just hope that the government does not give it all away in foreign aid or to the EU or third world immigrants." Euronews. The people of the UK might have voter apathy, but consider the poor people of Belarus. Parliamentary elections in that country have not produced one opposition member to the present government, led by Alexander Lukashenko. Opponents of the government have labelled the elections rigged, with a huge amount of pro-presidential voters apparently turning out to vote for the government. 109 of the parliamentary seats have been filled, leaving just one which failed to reach a 50% majority. Although the opposition called for a voter boycott, Belarus Electoral Commission announced that 74.2% of voters had taken part. This was thought to be owing to the improper pressure on voters in the army, schools and the big state-owned enterprises to participate, it was reported by Reuters. It is being reported that a drug-resistant strain of TB is on the increase in Romania, with around 1,300 cases every year. Many of these outbreaks centre on the Roma gypsies, and it is worrying with their influx into other parts of Europe, including the UK. Italy has seen the rise in TB patients, with links from Romanian travellers spreading the disease, with strains of cholera carried by people from southern Romania. The French government is still evicting and removing Romanian gypsy camps from France, but where they're going or being sent to is the question. The French government officials take no chance with their eviction officers, giving them medical checks and jabs against TB before they step 1 foot towards the gypsy camps. A nationalist spokesperson has commented, "We have enough problems with unchecked immigrants from Eastern Europe as it is. TB, which is highly infectious and a disease of overcrowding, is back in the UK. And cholera, which is a disease of dirt, is probably not far behind. Our concern must be for our very young and elderly, all of whom fall prey easily to disease. What is our government doing about it? Not much, apart from covering up the other diseases brought in like leprosy. We're the only country in the world that allows diseased people and diseased meat to come into civilian airports and overland without any checks." A World-Date reporter commented, "You only have to see the photo of the queues of people waiting in London to buy the new iPhone, and there is not one white face there apart from the security, and that means the spread of TB and cholera in London alone would be like wildfire." World News. More Nigerian Christians are being killed by Muslims. A suicide bomber suspected to be a member of the Islamist terror outfit Boko Haram launched the attack on St John's Catholic Cathedral Church in the state capital Abuja during the first mass on Sunday, local media reported, which killed 4 Christians and injured 48 more. According to an Associated Press count, more than 680 people have died in drive-by killings and bombings blamed on Boko Haram this year alone. Boko Haram, which translates as Western education is sin, are attacking Christians in the north of that country to incite sectarian violence between Muslims and Christians, so that Boko Haram can press for the separation of a Muslim majority north from the Christian majority south. A World-Date reporter comments, "The suicide bomber was killed as well, but I do not count him as human, let alone worth reporting. What is happening in Nigeria has and still is happening throughout the world, where there are large Muslim communities. Islam is not a religion of peace, it is a religion of domination and death." An official from Pakistan, Ghulam Ahmed Bilor, has offered a $100,000 bounty for the killing of the filmmakers of The Innocence of Muslims in the United States. Bilor is said to be the Federal Minister of Railways in Pakistan and has called for the help of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban to help kill the 2 persons concerned in the making of this film. Thought for the day, Andrew Norfolk does it again. "I am now officially offended. Very, very offended. The Times has put on a full frontal news issue today on police files reveal vast child protection scandal, and of course it is written by our old friend and enemy of nationalism, Andrew Norfolk. He of the convenient memory and even more convenient turn of phrase. In it they parade the facts that the British National Party and Nick Griffin have been airing in public and to the media for the last 10 years. That is, the sexual grooming of underage girls in northern towns. But no mention is made anywhere of the BNP or anything that they have published on these groomings over the years. In short, Norfolk is blaming the police, not the establishment or the perpetrators, who are for the most part British Pakistani and Bangladeshi Muslims. Now, to get one thing clear. These men have been doing this for over 30 years. It is not new. It is not a matter of a few years of shovelling it around and spitting it out into the corner. It is a religious and race hate crime. It is usually only very young white girls who are approached, but it can be other ethnicities, but never the same religion, namely Muslim. In the paper, Norfolk says that Asian girls are never targeted, and he is once again wrong. Sikh and Hindu girls have been groomed in the past. He triumphantly prints that the Times can now reveal evidence from more than 200 restricted access documents showing in one area that police and child protection agencies have had knowledge of this crime model for 10 years. Well, Norfolk, you and I know that these crime models have been going on much longer than that. I remember Norfolk from the CROP conference, which stands for the Coalition for the Removal of Pimping last year, which was the best cover-up from all walks of life that should have known better. We nationalists had started the Charlene Downs case campaign, and I would think the establishment thought that they had better jump on this bandwagon before it started going downhill. And they did, but not in the way you would think. I've written many reports and done many talks on the get-together of lovies and the way that the whole basic point of that particular and very nasty form of sexual grooming was totally ignored and worse, vaguely skirted around from all sections of people that attended, social workers, church workers, the police, the press, who were actually sent out when a couple of survivors anonymously told their harrowing tales, of course without names or ethnicities, and even a couple of Muslims themselves who put it firmly in the occasional and from the Asian communities section. Norfolk himself is on record as being aware of CSE 8 years ago, no, not the exam, but the buzzword for child sexual exploitation, which of course can cover child workers and more. Anne Cryer, the then Labour MP for Keighley, spoke out publicly against groups of Asian men exploiting and grooming girls in that town and was vilified for doing so. Norfolk's reason why he didn't do an article like the one today in the Times was the oddest one of all. But then I've met the man, he really lives up to his reputation as a great timist. It was, and I'm quoting here, "I did nothing, I know why I did nothing. It was because I sensed the saliva dribbling down the chin of Nick Griffin, leader of the BNP. This was the far right's dream story, innocent white girls, evil Muslims, a perfect way to sow hatred between white and non-white communities. End of explanation. Why thousands of girls have been exploited, raped or maybe disappeared since his decision. It is down to the establishment and Norfolk. Unfortunately the media and the TV do not listen to nationalists. He need have had no fear of that, so in a way it was down to him to spread the word. Why didn't he? He attended the CROC conference, he has attended many more events and interviewed many more people involved. Why didn't he act before now? Timing. That is what drives this man, not the will to stop anything or do good, just simple timing and effect. In this Better Late Than Never article in the Times, they say they've printed many such articles about the pattern of crimes across northern England and the Midlands. Oh yeah? None of which actually tell the truth. The truth is unpalatable to these people. They do not want to admit that we were right. These crimes are committed by entire families of the Muslim, Pakistani and Bangladeshi communities. It has been going on for years as a source of their family income. The odd Iraqi Kurd or convert to Islam excepted. Not all the girls were white, but they are all non-Muslim. They are sourced mainly from schools. Not all the girls survive. This article highlighted several cases which have never been prosecuted. Just those? Again, lies. Only a very few have been reported, let alone prosecuted. The girls are threatened with rape of their female family members, if not worse. These guys do not play around. Where money and free sex are concerned, or simply their own families might suffer financially. These are not cases of oversexed Pakistani males preying on available meat. They are making money. The cases mentioned are just the tip of the iceberg. They make it seem almost normal and very rare by just the phrasing. A 14-year-old girl from a good family was allegedly held in a flat and forced to perform sex acts on 5 men, 4 of which were Pakistani, the 5th an Iraqi Kurd asylum seeker. The list is awful and depressing and shows just how far we go in this country to the appeasement of certain members of the Muslim community. The police are not wholly to blame, although their attitude is very odd. When reported in the past, these cases, although few and far between, were not investigated unless the police could find a racial motive, which once attained meant they dropped the case as the CPS usually gave the excuse of the youngsters not being good witnesses. View the Charlene Downs murder, a complete hash-up from beginning to end. The general police view is not to upset the relations between the Muslim communities and the remnants of the white communities in those areas where the Muslim communities dominate. Most Muslim guys approached or involved, even if they are taken in, will just plead ignorance of any age and say the girls are out for a good time. It was bandied around in the media for a while that most of these victims were vulnerable, stupid or in care. The Times, who are on the hate police bandwagon now, state that in some cases the police simply remove the girl from the party house and take her home without any reports. I have seen this done on a programme about sex gangs in Britain, and the ethnicity of the guys is hidden, but he is Pakistani. He and his brother, who were young teenage boys, had their own house where they conducted their business with young girls. The policeman concerned was part of a new group formed for the protection of girls and who had to go around the streets and answer reports of missing youngsters. They found this girl in the house where her parents thought she was, slapped the guy on the wrist and took her home. End of. For years our police have been told to lay off stop and search for blacks and to lay off pursuing sexual grooming cases that involve, as they almost always do, British Pakistani Muslims or indeed Muslims of other ethnicities. It is a religious crime, not necessarily a racial one. The Times at long last has broken its silence, but in doing so they are laying the fault of the timing of such firmly at the door of the police, and that is wrong. This is a crime which must be shouldered fairly and squarely at the door of the councils, government, social workers, the press and media, the church and the police. It is a combined cover-up, a 30-year-old cover-up, to hide nasty facts in the hope that they go away. Well, they haven't, because the true nature and identity of the men has been hidden so well it has almost had the desired effect of going to ground. I received as profam a report from a parent whose child had been sexually groomed. Her age was not mentioned, her groomer's name was not mentioned, and when I asked for those facts I received no reply, total silence. We must not forget that the parents of these children do not live in a posh suburb of London. They live in the thick of a multicultural hellhole in which they have to bring up their children, use the local education system and share the same streets as the parents of the boys who groom their daughters. Fear rules in those cities, and it is a fear that the Times and the terrible and hypocritical Andrew Norfolk can never imagine. And finally, a cat called Skinny by its rescuers has been put up for adoption in Texas. But Skinny weighs a staggering 41 pounds. In the United States, government statistics say that the orange tabby is the same weight as your average 4-year-old child. Skinny is waiting for his blood tests before he's put up for adoption in Dallas, fearing he may have diabetes. A very kind owner had been caring for the cat but obviously overfed him. Animal welfare officers said that Skinny is the largest cat they've ever seen in over 2 decades. A truly very fat cat. You have been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynne Mozart and I wish you all a very good night. There will be no World at 8 this Wednesday, but we will be back on Friday as normal.